Hey there, guys. You're listening to Yakkin with Nick, and I wanted to share some things that I got inspired to think about today. I had some interesting conversations. I ended up getting close to nothing done, productive. I still have time. It's 7:00 p.m. I can crank some stuff out before 10 before I go to bed, but this is actually one of them that I said I would do. I got to record an episode. But anyway, I was talking to the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Oregon today, Ian Epstein, and we had a very fun conversation where we were eating at, if you're ever in Salem, Oregon, go to, oh Jesus, what was it called? It was the Happy Bibimbap's House. Yeah, it's a Korean place. It's on, what was it? It was on Shemeketa Street. So if you're in Salem, cruise down Shemeketa Street and, look out for it. It's a really good Korean place, very affordable and very good food. It's they do some cool stuff there too. They do some private charity that I really encourage. They feed the homeless on Monday afternoons. It's really cool. They're a good group of people and they make really good food. So what is it called? Again, it's a weird name. Happy Bibimbap's House, I believe is what it's called. Bib-in-im. That's one word, space Bap. House. Happy Bibim. I can't even say it, guys. It was really good food, and we had an interesting conversation there that ranged. We were specifically talking about libertarianism, obviously, because that's what we're libertarians. That's what we do. But I don't want to talk about libertarianism today. I want to talk about something that we brought up that Ian brought up that I thought was really interesting, because this is something I think about a lot. And this is something that I'm actively trying to, combat in my own life, is this loss of an older way of life. And it's hard to define because obviously not everybody lived this way when, well, that's not true. If you go back far enough, people were pretty much living this way everywhere. Of course, I'm not trying to go back to hunter-gathering. I guess that would be, if we trace the history back anywhere, that's what'll go. But as a farmer, right, I'm trying to pursue an older style of agriculture. And so I'm really inclined to, I feel like I'm inclined to call myself a conservative, in that regard. Because I'm trying to preserve this old way of life, living off the land and trying to work in a community. And maybe this isn't an older style life, but it seems to me that this is what it used to be when communities would pop up in the West. I don't know, of the United States is what I'm thinking. But I think of like a village, right? This is the kind of lifestyle I want to promote, like the family village. Does that make sense? Kind of a tribal lifestyle, but with some more modern conveniences. I don't want to be a hunter-gatherer, and I like to drive cars. And I like globalization for a lot of reasons. I think that I think a lot of modern things that we have are really cool, but I think that we lose pieces of a lifestyle when we move towards a more urbanized and more technological lifestyle. And I think that I don't want that. And part of me, obviously, like I spend a lot of time on Facebook. I spend a lot of time on the computer. I use this microphone, right? Obviously, I like modern technology. But at the same time, I always feel like, man, I really like the woods more. Because I spend a decent amount of time outdoors, in the woods and in the pastures. And I really like that. So that, like, I brought this up last episode, and this is going to kind of play off what I was talking about. Why am I farming? This is why, right? I'm trying to live a life that is really based on me, and to an extent, it's, I have to have other people there, and it's my hope and dream to have a family someday. So I don't want it to just be me, and I have a family now, right? So it's not just me, but I'm trying to pursue a lifestyle that is more autonomous, right? I don't want to and there are many ways to do this, right? But this is my way of doing it. I'm trying to cut out as many expenses and as many influences on my life as possible, and I mean, I shouldn't say as possible, as is useful to me, and I'm in the process of doing that. I'm nowhere near being where I want to be in that regard, but at some day, that is my dream, is to have as little influence and as little concern as possible as to outside things that are outside of my control. And that's not true either, is it? Because everything, nature's not in my control, and I'm trying to live closer to nature, I guess. So it's not really what I'm. Maybe I misunderstand what I'm pursuing. I don't know. But I wanted to share that this is something I care about, and I think it's interesting to think about, because I was talking to Ian Epstein about this, and he said that Oregon in the 80s was so much different than it is now. I mean, there's obviously population has increased quite a bit. Population is growing very fast in most places, I think. I mean, compared to the rest of history, definitely. But man, there's something romantic about the wild and the wilderness. I don't know. And that's what I like. And I like this kind of Wild West attitude. As I drove home from Salem today, I was listening to some country music, and not pop country, though I did listen to, it was some Tim McGraw. I don't consider it pop country. Like the Chris Stapleton and Tim McGraw, and a little bit of, I think it was Jason Lee or something. But Chris Stapleton has a really good song called Outlaw State of Mind. And that's kind of, I've been thinking about how to define this pull towards the rural lifestyle. And I'm trying to define the rural lifestyle and the rural ethic, if there is one, because is it different than anybody else? That's what I'm thinking. But it seems to me that rural people always, or not always, but often there's a different culture there than it is in the city. That's pretty obvious. But I wonder why I'm pulled that way, and I wonder if, what causes that. And sometimes I think, well, it's the rural ethics. Like, I like this idea of helping out your community and being honest and putting in hard work to get where you want to go, and to, care about the area around you and the community around you. But then I think, is that really rural? Is that unique to rural people? I don't think so. And it doesn't have to be either. All right. So I think about, what is it? I don't think it's the ethics, because there are some stupid assholes out in rural America too, right? They aren't great. Not everybody's great out here, right? It's not that. It's not necessarily the ethics of the people. I don't know what it is, but it intrigues me, because it's not really. I don't think that it's recognized by a majority of people in a civilized world. It's not recognized by the media. It's not recognized by politicians at all. And that's what we were talking about, Ian and I. We were talking about how politicians and the government typically don't care about the welfare of people in the hinterlands or on the fringe, like people out in Eastern Oregon, in Grant County. That's what we're specifically referencing. And it's interesting, because I learned about this concept from Ben Stone, I believe, the Bad Quaker, badquaker.com. The hill people. And that's what I kind of been identifying myself as recently, is I want to be somebody outside of society, because I don't really enjoy society. There are parts of it, obviously, like I said, I do enjoy it, but I don't really want to be a part of it, because it's just like, why do that when I can do this? I can do whatever I want to do out here, and that's what I want to do. And obviously, if you want to be part of society, do it. Like, I don't want to I don't want to diss on your choice to do that, or your natural inclination towards it. That's not really, I don't know. I don't need to care, but this is how I feel. This is what I want. So I think it's really interesting, and I think it's something that's being lost. They're becoming less and less hill people, especially in the United States, right? In Europe, they're pretty much all gone, at least Western Europe, right? It's hard to be a hill person outside of society. for a lot of reasons. But and I want that lifestyle, so I kind of get worried, like, wow, what is going to happen? As government power continues to encroach into people's lives, and as society becomes more and more advanced and urbanizes more, and we become more and more connected because of infrastructure improvements, I wonder, like, how much is that going to be lost? And is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Because it's just from my philosophical standpoint, I try not to put a moral judgment on things like that, because it's not my choice. It's not up to me. I don't really get to decide what happens in the future. I might be able to influence it in a small way, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like I should put a moral judgment on it, because then I have some sort of investment in it, right? But at the same time, it may not be moral, but it's a personal choice that I want to live as separate from society as I can, or that is useful, I guess, to my desires and my values. And it seems like, man, how long am I going to be able to do that? Or will I be able to do that? And will my children be able to do that if they desire? My grandchildren? And I find myself kind of wishing for a collapse of the government to bring an economic collapse or a new dark age, just so that I get to experience what my ancestors got to live. And then I think, well, is that really a great thing? Because it wasn't that fantastic to live back then. There were a lot of diseases. People didn't have much information. We live in an amazing time full of information. And the only reason why I even want to pursue this is because I have the information, right? I've done the work. I shouldn't say that. I'm doing the work that I'll need to do to live a happy life, to pursue that lifestyle. It's what it seems to me, right? I'm working on all these things with information from the internet that I gained from this age of information, and then I try to abandon it. Does that make sense? How am I going to be able to pass on that knowledge without the internet? I don't know. I don't think I can. So I'm wondering still, like, is this something that I want to pursue? And I keep coming back to, it's like, well, what else am I going to do? This sounds like fun. Let's do it. Let's try it out. And so that's what I'm doing, right? I'm living in a trailer, and I have electricity for now, but I have no Wi-Fi. I love it. I sometimes sit out there and just think or read or listen to my podcast and clean. I just like being out there. Of course, I spend more time here on this computer because I have to, right? I have to make money doing what I'm doing, and this is apparently the easiest way. Of course, I could find a way to do it, right? I could find a way to be off grid and make my money and do what I want to do. But there's a lot of effort, and I'm lazy, right? I don't want to be building my own house out of sticks and mud for now, right? I want to be making a little bit of money, so I know that I have something to fall back on. But that's my dream, right? That's the idea, is to move towards that. And I'm going to try it out a little bit more this summer. I'm going to move my trailer away from the house and live down in the far pasture by the river, and I'll as soon as I start making money here off the yaks and market season, I'm going to start trying to buy my own food and grow my own food and see what I can do. Because why not? I don't know. That's the only reason. Because it sounds like fun, and it's what my ancestors used to do. But I'll tell you why. I think I wanted to mention this earlier, but I'll tell you why I'm kind of drawn to this ancestral idea. Because it seems to me that human beings are progressing very quickly. There's never been a period in history that looked like this, to our knowledge, right? Maybe back before ancient Egypt. No, I doubt it. I don't know. When the Anunnaki came in, do you think they had the internet back at home? I don't know. I have no idea. So I like this ancestral idea because I think that people might be progressing faster, evolving faster, or no, I should say, progressing faster than our evolution, right? Where we are so connected, more connected than we ever been. And so we find negative consequences like people being stupid online, just saying mean things for no reason to people that if you met them in person, they would never say that to you, right? These internet trolls, that never existed in history, right? Only now that everybody has a voice can that happen. And of course there's payoffs, right? But it makes me wonder, have we adapted to the changes that we have made so far? Are we even adapted to live in a democracy or a republic, a democratic republic? Are we even evolved enough to be able to do that effectively? It doesn't seem so. It certainly doesn't seem so. We've got a lot to do as humans, and we're moving very quickly in certain areas like technology and food. Like we're like, we don't really know what some of these things can do. We're developing medicines, and we don't necessarily know what the consequences are. We can see that with psychiatric medications, where they're prescribing them to people who have these so-called mental illnesses. And I don't mean to disparage that idea, but I'm a skeptic on that regard, and I think that it's a problem. Maybe this isn't the best example because not everybody buys that. I'm trying to find an example that is easily relatable. But I think that's an example because these medicines don't work for everybody, and they may cause some significant damages, like Ritalin on children. That's a big one. That definitely, I think you can point to and say this is not healthy to put kids on that, because what we're doing, we're progressing so fast. That's actually an excellent example, and I'm going to use that, the school one, using Ritalin, put it on boys that have so-called ADHD when they're really just hyperactive, because we're human beings. We're not made to sit in a chair all day. We're not meant to be inside learning things all day. We're meant to be outside hunting and gathering, or like maybe we've evolved a little bit so that we can spend our time farming, doing stuff. That's what we do as human beings. And to pathologize activity or actions that a young boy has, or what am I trying to say? To pathologize the energy levels of young kids put into a situation where their genetics are not adapted to, like, that's ridiculous. Why would we do that? So we're moving past our adaptations. We're trying to do so many things that are way beyond the scope of human genetics. At least it seems to me. I don't really know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't necessarily think that I'm completely correct, right? But from my observations and my research, this seems to be true. And I'm wanting to try to go back and say, wait, let's take it a little bit slower, guys. But again, I can't really influence that. I can't really change that in the future. I can't get everybody to adopt, to go slower and say, wait, let's take a second. Let's actually study what these things are doing for us. These new inventions, these new medications, these new practices, these new technologies. Like, let's take them and examine them before we really base our world around them. Partly because I can't do that, because partly I'm too late, and partly it's just going to happen, right? I can't stop it because it's truly amazing. Honestly, I have to admit that while I want to move back, I still think that it's quite impressive and it's quite helpful, right? Because I'm a product of that. So I'm torn, right? This is something I think about a lot, because if I can't make a change, at least I can be the change that I want to see, right? I can at least lead by example. And there are people who are interested in this. I listened to an old sample hour. Drew Sample had Greg Burns, I believe, on. Greg Burns is a farmer out in Ohio, along with Drew, and I guess maybe a homesteader is what Greg might call himself. I don't know. He runs Nature's Image Farm, I believe. Nature Images or Nature's Image. I think it's Nature's Image. I'm pretty sure you can find it at nature'simage.com, but I'm not sure. Just look up Nature's Image Farm. Wow, you'll probably find it. But he was talking about this. It was an older episode. I think it was the first time Greg Burns has been on that show, the Sample Hour. I think it's like 160 something. I don't know. But it was interesting Drew was interviewing him, talking about why are you farming, and he was talking about the old way of life. This is what we used to do. People used to grow their own food. We used to grow our own hogs right in your front yard, so that you could eat. So you canned, you grew vegetables, and you did everything for you produced your own food. And there's something about that. Maybe it's nostalgia that's just stuck in some people like me. But I really like that idea, and I think it's really cool. And I personally think with my interpretation of and my personal use of libertarianism, I need to move away from using that word because I think it's a turnoff to most people. But my application of liberty in my own lifestyle, liberty being freedom from external controls, this is what I want to do. And this is how I think it's possible, or the most possible, because obviously freedom from all external controls is impossible. It's not practical. It doesn't work because there are so many things we can't control that we rely on. It's just as animals on this planet, that's the way it works. I don't get to control, that I live off the sun, right? That's not something I'm going to get around. Maybe with technology, we'll be able to do it someday, right? But we're not there yet, so I'm moving backwards, and I don't know. I guess it's nice that I can step back and do what I want to do and let the world move on without me. But that's just, I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I don't know if I have anything else to add, but no, actually I do. Okay, so I explained that. That's what I want to do, and I think that's interesting. I'm trying to be less rambly on the show, but I can't. I just don't make notes. I got criticism on the last episode that it was way too long and way too rambly. This one I'll keep shorter, and I'm trying to keep it more specific I don't know. I'll get better at these presentations as time goes on, I promise. So just hold on. It'll be 30 episodes of shit, but but just keep listening, and in 30 episodes it'll be all right. Or maybe check back in. No. Sorry. I feel like I'm Alex Jones, getting excited. I'm sorry. Anyway, it was interesting, this conversation I had with Ian Epstein, because we're talking about politics. This was where our whole conversation was really grounded in, was this idea of how does the government treat people, and how do the people that use government right now treat people. And it's really disappointing to see a conflict, because there certainly is a conflict between urban and rural, and whether you see it or not, it's happening. I think it's easier for rural people to see. Rural areas are slowly being diminished, especially here on the West Coast. This used to be the Wild West, man. And now we've got giant cities, and we're ruled by Democrats. So it's interesting. And I don't want to pick political fights. I want to stay away from politics on this show. But this is an issue I really care about, and I think it's nuanced. So I'd like to share it. And I don't want to disparage anybody for disagreeing. I hope that you can listen and appreciate what I have to say from a different point of view if you don't agree. But urbanization, I think, is a big issue. I think we're going to lose a lot of our natural wilderness. And luckily there's a lot here left in the United States. We have a lot of federally owned land that is not touched. And that's like my one anti-capitalist thing is I love the BLM. Sometimes I don't like them, but the federal government is probably my favorite landowner, because it's accessible for me to do whatever I want on it, and nobody touches it. It's not allowed to be harvested. I really like that idea. I like the idea of preserving wilderness. So, but that's being encroached upon anyway, by urban development, and I don't like that. I like the idea of keeping rural areas rural, and I don't get to decide that, right? But it's definitely happening. The rural lifestyle and the rural culture is slowly moving away as kids go to high school and are pushed into college, they don't stick around the farm. They don't stick around the log. Some people do. Some people don't go to college. Some people stick around. And while that's not a lifestyle that is very wealthy, I think it can be appreciated. And from the loggers and farmers that I know, I know that they're relatively happy, even if they aren't, living in the fanciest house or driving the best car. But they're living a life that they enjoy. And maybe that's true for city people too. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what that culture's like. I don't know. I know people who live in the city. I know a lot of people who live in the city. I should know a little bit. But I think that this rural lifestyle it's not going to go away for a while, I don't think. But I think that if we keep progressing the way we are, I think that it will. And that worries me because I have an emotional attachment to this lifestyle, and it may not be practical to really care, on my end. There's nothing I can do, like I said, but maybe this is my little bit of influence I can give. I don't know. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I guess I don't need to share anymore. I don't really have much else to say. So, I don't know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. You as a listener, whoever you are, write me an email. yakkinwithnick@gmail.com. YAKKIN with Nick at gmail.com. I was thinking, is there a G in there? No, there's no G in Yakkin. Yeah, I guess that's it, folks. Thank you for listening. And yeah, definitely reach out, because I like to hear from people. I like to hear people's thoughts, because everybody comes from a different point of view. And I can't count on myself to think to have a completely nuanced view on life, because I have my colored lenses, right? And you have yours. And if we share our experiences, it's more likely that we'll come to a more accurate picture of reality. That's what it seems to me. So I'd love to hear from you and hear any of your thoughts on this show. I'm very open to feedback and criticism. You can say whatever you want to me. It's very hard to hurt my feelings. Just don't make fun of yaks. You can make fun of yaks. They're dumb animals. No, they're not. They're very smart and they're very cool. But yeah, I'd like to have feedback. Hey, there's a reason I'm talking about feedback. I have I set up a new Facebook group, and I don't know what the URL is. I'll post it in the show notes. But if you go to Facebook and look up Yakkin with Nick feedback group, you should find it. That's an excellent place to post feedback. I'd really love it if people started using that. That's the Yakkin with Nick feedback group. Cause I really want to have a conversation, cause it's, because this show's called Yakkin with Nick. It's not Yakkin by Nick. Right. Right. So, yak back, man. I love it. If you'd like to help out the show in a different way, you can help out by giving me feedback and criticism or whatever. But you can also donate on Patreon. That's patreon.com/just yakkin. Like I said, no G, JUSTYAKKIN. Patreon is PATREON. Patreon.com/just yakkin. You could pledge $1 or $5 a month. I think you can go up to $10, but $1 a month is just fine. I'd really love it if I could make it to $25 a month. That would really make it worth my time and energy and the expenses that take to make a podcast like this. I'm doing it in a much cheaper way than I used to, but it costs $20 a month right now. And if I can be making a profit of $5, I'd be really happy. So please consider donating there. If you'd like to donate Bitcoin or PayPal, you can go to and-yak.com. That's the old website. And you can make a one-time donation there. and-yak.com/donation. That's an-yak.com/donation. I'd really appreciate that as well. And if you really feel like it, please write a review on Google Play or iTunes. That really helps us rise in the iTunes and Google Play searches. I think it helps other people see us, and it gives people a taste of what this is. If you explain, hey, this is why I like this show, and And this is this. Oh, yeah, I guess that's it. This is why I like this show. That's all you need to write in a review. If you write more, please be nice. But anyway, yeah, I think that's it, folks. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you again soon.